We've mentioned calendar conditions in an earlier lesson. This lesson shows how to carry out the calendar condition requirement of the use case. The purpose of calendars is to model the human and operational reality of your organization, and then recreate it for scheduling purposes in Automic. Typically, if your IT ops are based in a specific geography, you could design a calendar that contains the off days for that geography, or more likely simply use one of the default templates present in the products. Calendar events are calculations that designate days of the year. They belong to types, static, weekly, group, each designating days in different ways. Static events designate days individually, with no discernible cyclical pattern. We use these to designate holidays. Other events are either cyclical or offsets, say every Saturday, every first day of the month, or 2 days after the first working day of each month. Using task properties, we apply a calendar condition, referencing the calendar object we created. This sets a condition of execution. If the condition matches a day designated by the calendar, then the task can be made to execute or refrain from executing. The calendar object stores days designated by computed definitions called events. These were known as keywords in prior releases. A calendar can contain more than one event. An event can be static, essentially to designate days manually, when they cannot be identified by any sort of cyclical pattern. We use this for holidays. The other events calculate designated days based on cycles, X number of days weekly, monthly, or yearly. Finally, they can be offset by combining 2 or more events. You would use this for more exotic requirements, for example, the first Monday following a holiday. Here we would have 2 events, one weekly to designate weekends, and one static to designate US holidays. In the task properties, we apply these calendar events to set a condition of execution. The task can be made to execute if the calendar condition is satisfied, meaning on days designated by the calendar events, even if the overall workflow schedule is completely different. You're in effect isolating the task and giving it a different schedule. Once the calendar condition is active, 3 options are available: all, no, and 1. All means the condition set by the events must be met. As an example, the task only executes on New Year's Day if it's a Saturday or Sunday. No means the task executes on days not designated by the events. Any day works, as long as it's not a holiday and not a weekend day. Finally, 1 means any one condition, either a holiday or weekend day, works. The task executes on either one. In our demo, we use the UK calendar, identified as GB for Great Britain. Let's create the calendar. All calendars come with a default static event designating nothing. We create the first event. Static, also called non-recurring, designates days that don't follow any sort of pattern. Holidays are a good example. Weekly, monthly, and yearly are simply time-based cycles. Every Monday, first day of the month, or 2 specific days of the year. We use group when we want to combine 2 events into one. Offsets are used for more exotic requirements, such as run on the first day of the month, unless it's a weekend, then offset to the first day of the working week, which presumably would be the first available Monday. We build our weekly events, we give it a name and then configure it. You can change the cycle, for example, if you wanted to target every other week or run quarterly jobs. We'll add our second events, this one based on a holiday calendar. This requires each holiday to be designated manually. This can be incredibly time-consuming, and for this reason, Broadcom has designed a number of predefined templates for all main geographies in the world. They're found in the group category. We use the UC Holidays GB Total group. This has all the UK holidays. Our calendar is now ready. It has 2 events, GB holidays and weekends. We've created a small workflow to illustrate our little use case. This workflow will be executed with a daily period, but we isolate the second task and apply a different schedule using calendar conditions. We use the no condition match since we want to withhold execution on the days designated by the calendar events. All would schedule the tasks on days that are both weekends and holidays. One would schedule on days that are either a holiday or a weekend. Our events are accessible in the list. We select both. The easiest way to establish that the system works is to execute the workflow with a daily period and then run a forecast. We'll forecast 200 executions, which will take us to the new year. Obviously, you don't want to do this in production or your jobs might run. There are ways to mitigate this, for example, with queues. December 28th is a Saturday. The task does not execute, which shows that the no condition based on the weekend event works. On Friday, the task executes. On 1st of January, again, the task is withheld.